Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I don't know why I'm up so early, probably because it's a different time zone West River and I'm talking to some folks from Rapid City. Expect this to be a 7 or 18-hour filming because it's going to be two Irish people talking, so it's going to be nonstop. Get a drink. I'm sure you had Irish coffee for breakfast, and if you haven't, you got about 2 minutes to make yourself one. Quick thing, look at this cool t-shirt I got. This is my Bob is Love t-shirt. We're recording this in July of 2022, and in September, my good friend Martin Dill and his crew of Janitor Bob are going to be in the South Dakota Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I just got my t-shirt yesterday. So I'm going to cut that up, tie-dye it up, tramp that up, something to wear to that event. So I'm super excited. Everybody should start every morning listening to the happy song. But no time for any more intros because I've already had people who are strangers to me and strangers to my guests ask me what we're going to talk about. Let me bring on to the screen. Oh, wait, he's taking a drink of his Irish coffee. The Duffy family. Good morning, Duffys.
Good morning.
So now we have not met in real life. We are people who have crossed in the Twitterverse. And that is through Mike Henriksen, who we both do know in real life.
Yes.
Now, Caitlin, I don't know if you know Mike.
Just in the World Wide Web.
In the acquaintances. Yes. I do not remember what he retweeted, but I distinctly went, how do I not know someone with that much of an Irish name from the same state as me? Because you're not a Pat, you're not a Patrick, you're a Padraic.
Padraic, yeah, Padraic. Not the G on the end. I got the C. Yeah, you don't see very many of them. I was like 20 years old before I ran into the first person I saw with the same name. And then obviously when we went over to Ireland, I ran in, you see it a lot more over there, but yeah, little different. I always just waited for teachers growing up for the pause, kind of stare at it for a little bit, and I just raise my hand and say, yeah, it's Patrick, I'm here.
Yeah. So I did say we're going to start off by getting rid of all the Irish stereotypes. Everybody always asks me if I'm a Mick or a Mac, and I'm a Mac that says Mick, or I'm spelled Mick that says Mac, but I'm a Mick either way. So were you raised Catholic?
Yes.
Do you have 19 brothers and sisters?
I've got quite a few. I've got 2 full brothers. I've got 2 half brothers. I've got step brothers. My parents got divorced when I was 18, so my family, shoots off all different ways. But growing up, it was just me and my 2 brothers for the most part, and then my sister Lisa was adopted when I was. She came to live with us when I was like an 8th grader, probably. So, but I really just grew up with my 2 main brothers. But my family
is expanded.
Yes.
Is extensive.
Yeah.
And you've actually been to the homeland. You've been to Ireland.
Yes, we got to go a couple years ago.
Yeah. Pre-COVID.
Right before COVID. Yeah. So 3 years ago.
Yep.
I still have not because I've never been on an airplane.
Oh my.
I wish I've never been on an airplane. I hate flying. I hate it.
I did a few years ago, I did a photo shoot where I was on a World War II bomber. Like I'm in the bomber for a photo shoot. And with knowledge that plane was not lifting off, I was like, can I get down now? Can I get out of here now?
I love it.
I hate it. I mean, once I'm up in the air, the nerves go down, they're manageable. I'm okay when I'm flying. I'm still not excited about it, but the taking off and landing, I'm just like, this is not right.
I don't know that I'm truly afraid of flying. I think I'm afraid of airports because I don't mind crowds, but I don't like crowds that I'm not in control of. Like if they don't listen to me, then I'm mad. And I feel like if I got on the plane, I'd be a backseat driver. I'd be like, can I go up in the cockpit and just make sure they know what they're doing? And apparently there's rules against that. I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what's your favorite way to eat a potato?
Oh, mashed all the way for me.
Now, like mashed with the skins or mashed without?
I prefer with skins.
See, that's the Irish way. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
But I like, there's no way to make a potato that I don't like. I like them all. But yeah, no, I love mashed potatoes.
And so, Caitlin, you're from Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you found each other? Were you like a girl from potato country? She's
It's always meant to be, I guess.
He caught me mashed potato wrestling and couldn't resist. So, yeah.
So you're both from South Dakota. Lifelong South Dakotans, both of you?
Born and raised, yep, both of us.
Have either of you ever lived out of the state for any amount of time?
I did for 7 months, as you know, young, and thought I wanted to leave, and I made it 7 months, and I came back to the hills.
And so tell me something that's different between growing up and you guys have 3 kids? 3. And 2 of them are boys that are in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And 1 is a daughter, correct?
Yes.
And she's like mine. She's grown, has her own life, has her own attitude, I think, right? She's older.
Yeah. Very much so, yes.
Yeah.
What's it like you coming from a very small town and now living in our 2nd largest city? What is something that you either had and missed from small town life that you wish your kids had, or something that you're glad is different?
Everything.
I could go on and on, but the example from this morning is my kids wanted to take off on a bike ride, and I wish that didn't cause me anxiety.
Right.
I was biking all over town, walking all over town. I think that's a different time period also, as well as a small town, but yeah. And
Right.
just knowing everybody, walking into the neighbor's house because, they have pop in the garage.
Right. Right. Well, I don't know that that's just a different time thing. I mean, I lived my whole life in Sioux Falls, and I lived in a lower income neighborhood where all the adults were at work all day. So the kids ran the show from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like that was our domain. And I definitely look at it now and I think, I see cars zipping around in that neighborhood. And when I was a kid, we could bike and nobody was texting on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if they hit us with their car, somebody's mama was going to be worse than the police. And I think that that's something that's different now, is nobody is watching out in the cities for, like, they're going to run your kid over and not even know they did it, is how I feel.
Yep.
It's one of the first lessons I've taught my boys here is that every car you see,
Right.
act as though they have absolutely no idea that you're. I mean, even if you think they're driving 5 miles an hour and are looking right at you, you have no idea.
Right.
Especially today. Yeah, like you said, everybody's on their phone.
And you guys are in big truck country. Everybody there is driving a truck that could go right over my car. So they don't see, the blind spots are everywhere. So I don't know that that's definitely a different era thing as much as it is just a change in how the adults in our world are. But that's just me. But your kids are athletes, so maybe they would pop right up and choke them out, wrestle them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least the youngest one is pretty sure he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can take anybody in his mind.
That's my kiddo too. She started jujitsu last year. I had always wanted her to start that younger, but she didn't start it till adulthood. And after her first week of classes, I said, "Show me something you learned." And she choked me unconscious.
Oh my God.
She choked me out. And when I came around, she said, you're supposed
to be tapping.
Right. And I'm a huge fan of that sport. And she said, you're supposed to have tapped. You didn't tap. And I said, you know me. Why did you think I would tap? And she said, you raised me. Why did you think I would stop? So.
I love it.
So what is school like where you are for your kids? Are you guys close to their elementary school, or is there are they bus riders? What is your thoughts on education in Rapid City? Which, for anybody not one of us, you should Google that. But
we don't have any complaints about what I mean, our
We
kids,
love our
we're
kids'
really
school.
lucky with our kids' school, how close it is. It's one of the major reasons we love our little house and stay where we are is that our kids walk literally less than
around
400,
the corner.
400 yards to school. So, and we're in a school that is blessed with, at least especially for our older of our two boys, tiny class sizes, and he's had great teachers. So, I mean, we don't have, I know that there's a lot being said about a lot of the school board members and some of their ideas about the way things should be done. But in terms of, and I'm a product of Rapid City area schools from a long time ago, obviously. My oldest daughter, product of Rapid City area schools. I did go to Catholic school for my last 5 years of my schooling. But I don't have any complaints about, my family's been done pretty right by the Rapid City area school system.
I feel like a lot of what I see in the news and the media right now is kind of directed at high school age kids.
Yeah.
And the high school curriculums.
And
there are concepts that when you're a little guy, they're concepts that don't even come into play when you're still at long division, which is where I've been stuck for years. But
I never made it past that. So
yeah. When the teachers told us you won't have a calculator everywhere you go. Yeah, look at me now. Mrs. Olson, 5th grade. Do you think, does your public school district have a lot of, like I said, your kids play sports? Is there a lot of music, art, sports? Is there a lot of options for the little kids? Or is it more as they get older, there's more options?
I think as they get older, we've yet to, so our oldest will be going into 3rd grade. And it's 3rd, it might just be 4th and 5th where they start getting introduced to actual instruments. I don't think it's this year. But up until this point, no, I mean, not really. They have a runners club they do in the mornings, but that's about it. And my kids don't wake up and go to it.
Ours, yeah, I mean, our boys are just going into 1st and 3rd grade, 3rd and 1st graders. So
everything they do is outside of the school.
Like club sports.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the wrestling is a club that's attached to
Central,
Rapid City Central, the Cobblers, but it's all at this point. There's not anything that we're doing.
You as parents have to seek it out. Like school isn't going to send home a flyer for it.
Well, they're pretty good about sending home.
Yeah, no, they send
opportunities
for sure. We've got I mean, they let you know if soccer or the wrestling club. Our kids wrestle across town with the club that is not hooked to their side of the school. They'd actually be Stevens kids where they live, but
cousins.
So they send stuff out, letting people know about camps and stuff that particularly Stevens is putting on. Yeah.
Keep your kids out of the street. We can't text and drive if they're free. We got to contain them. What about entertainment? I spend time in Rapid City. I have a lot of friends over there. I tend to go back and forth a little bit. And in Sioux Falls, I feel like we've got a lot of mainstream entertainment, like go to the concerts or whatever. But we've also got a lot of pretty much any night of the week, I can find something to go to and do. Do you feel like Rapid is that way, or is Rapid more of a get through your day, go home, weekends or go out time? Does Rapid City offer a lot for adults? This sounds terrible, adult entertainment.
Gotten a lot better and a lot of mixed entertainment. The Main Street Square does a lot of stuff that's both kid and adult friendly. So yeah, we love Main Street Square and the stuff that they do down there. I think a lot of the stuff weeknights, if it's going on, we're not attending a lot of it. We kind of come home and
be done for the day.
Low. Yeah.
We got little kids to get up and moving in the morning, and she works. Her job is she gets up early.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we're not out doing a lot during the week. Thursday nights during the summertime is always fun. You can always go down to Main Street Square, and you got a couple of different musical acts going at the same time in different spots, and close down downtown basically. That's always, Main Street Square has been one of those wonderful government projects that people were complaining about spending a little bit of money on, that has just completely changed the quality of life for
people that are not tourists, for people that live there.
Yeah.
But for people that live here, people that are tourists. I mean, it's just made a big difference for downtown Rapid City. It was a great thing that that government and obviously some money and Ray Hillenbrand came together and kind of put that together, and it was a great thing for our town.
I think it took 30 years for Sioux Falls to get our downtown to be that level. And it was the same thing. It was first we were up against ideology, then we were up against money, then we were up against both, then some people died and things got better. And
well, and see, I mean, obviously, ideology-wise, that anti-government, no, you're not going to spend any tax money on anything that's going to help whatever, is huge out here.
Right.
So, I mean, and obviously you guys have it even more down there in a lot of ways with the Sanford money. Without the rich guy and Ray Hillenbrand kind of giving some money to do this,
right,
get it off the ground, it probably never, would even come close to happening.
Right.
So that's good that they got it done that way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't just. I don't know. I heard a rumor our state had some surplus dollars. I haven't seen any of it, but I heard a rumor. And I got a list of things we could do with it.
Yeah.
But apparently we gave it back. I don't know.
It tends to go a long way.
Yeah. A lot of memos from me don't make it to the right desks, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about, let's talk about media. In Sioux Falls, we tend to think we're the center of the universe. I think I was probably 30 years old before I realized that everybody in the state didn't learn about weather from Kello.
Well, I mean, everybody in the state does kind of learn about weather from Kello.
But Phil Schreck has my heart. I wish he was with Kello. He's with Dakota News Now. He's going to come and talk with me next month. Phil's
a great dude. We get Kello out here, obviously, too.
How many like networks do you guys have, though? Do you have? So we have CBS is Kello, and then ABC, NBC is combined here.
That's how Rapid City's market has become as well. Well, Gray Television, my former employer, they bought both no, it's not ABC, NBC together here. That's a mistake. Fox and ABC are the same
one
news organization, and so the news on ABC and Fox here is the same. NBC is a smaller, owned by a couple of families out here for the most part, that run that TV station, the NBC one here, KNBN. So we've got three, technically three, basically but really two, and then we get Kello. Kello's got a reporter out here, and we get the same news that you guys are getting.
And then for media, you guys just have one major newspaper. Are they still a daily delivery? Can you still get the paper every day?
They don't. I feel like the Journal doesn't put out a paper on Monday anymore.
Okay.
Pretty sure Monday there's no paper, and then it kicks back up and you get it Tuesday
through Sunday.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it is now. I feel like they're taking one day off. And I mean, the Monday paper before and now the Tuesday paper, I mean, they're somewhere pretty
thin.
Yep.
See, and I don't know how I feel about that. I've such a strong love for print journalism, because once it's printed, you cannot cut and paste and edit and change what you put out there. And to see, like in Sioux Falls, the Argus they no longer print here and it gets shipped to us and things like that. To see our largest cities not have good print journalism, like
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's and it's it's one of those never-ending cycle things. Your paper gets smaller, your staff then shrinks, and then it gets smaller, and everybody's stretched, and more stressed, and more work to do. It's a never-ending vicious cycle, and it's a terrible thing for us. It's one of those things that, I sound like a
You sound like somebody who has a former employer in media.
couple. Well, I worked for newspapers for a lot longer than I worked in TV, and I loved working at the newspaper. It just got to be one of those things where it's just too hard.
Right.
Not enough people want to have a newspaper on their front step in the morning anymore, and it's terrible. It's one of those things. The whole pure profit motive is obviously been devastating to newspapers, and in a lot of ways to a lot of the ways we consume our news and get our news. And I
think that it's definitely made it where biases, we get so much of our media and our news through the web now, and
we get so much of our media and our news from people that aren't media or news, just other crazy people yelling at us on the internet. It's not. So I don't.
Well, and I don't necessarily focus on seeking out media sources that don't align with my beliefs, which is so that I'm never seeing both sides of the story. I'm never forced to see the other side. And of course my side is right, but I'm never forced to see the other side and look at a bigger picture. And I think that that's definitely how we've got such a divide in how we all understand even our day-to-day community stuff. Now they're just basically flyers to let us know what's going on, and you find what you want if you want to find it.
Well, and I was just watching or checking out my stepfather's I think it was a blog post he did the other day, and talking about it was a tribute to one of his old friends, but in the post he talked about how Aberdeen American News, Rapid City Journal, and the Argus Leader used to all have a dedicated person, a bureau person in Pierre covering stuff every day. And
every day.
None of the three can do that now, and it's a blow to. And they lived there.
Yeah, they all had somebody that actually lived there year round, and
I'd be remiss. Obviously Kello still has Bob Mercer doing great work, pumping stuff out, all the time, doing everything he can to stay on top of things and let people know what's going on. And the Argus and the Journal people that are, in Rapid and Sioux Falls, they do a good job of, covering what they can and doing what they can with limited resources, constantly being cut to the bone all the time. It's worse than people.
It's worse than people realize. It's you're more aware of it if you know people in the industry. You're more aware of how strapped they are.
Also, the rabid leftists, the crazy communists over at South Dakota Public Broadcasting, obviously,
I know
they do a phenomenal. Seth Tupper is good a news person as anybody that's ever been around. And they've got other people over there that do a great job. We're lucky with the limited resources. We still have some really good people keeping us informed. It's just a lot harder.
And some of
us informed. Those of us that want to find other views than our own. We talking about Pierre, you had mentioned, Padraic, that you grew up all over the state. And you mentioning your stepdad. So you come from both of your families, both sides of your family, you come from kind of South Dakota dynasties.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Because I knew who they were.
My stepdad is Kevin Wooster, so lots of people know Kevin from. He was, he's obviously
Right.
been a well-known newspaper and then TV guy for a long time. And he married my mom after my mom and dad got divorced. My parents, are both Central South Dakota kids. The Duffy family's from Fort Pierre. It's where my dad grew up. So I spent a lot of time in Stanley County growing up. Met my grandparents and even my great-grandfather. And my great-grandpa, who came over on the boat, he didn't die until I was 10.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So I knew him. Spent a lot of time at his house growing up. And then my mom is from Highmore, so Hyde County girl. So those two obviously are only like 48 miles or something.
I can't believe you don't have a cowboy hat on right now. Like, did you take it off because you were afraid it wouldn't be in frame?
I do not have any cowboy at all in me. I can ride a horse decently, but no, I don't. There's nothing about anything happening on a ranch that you're gonna get me doing.
Oh yeah, Padraic would be like. They would have to say he's in there trying to throw a basketball at the bull again. Get him out of there.
So my parents are both from Central South Dakota, and then I was born when they were both in college in Brookings. So I spent the first few years of my life growing up in married student housing in Brookings, and then kind of moved around. My dad thought he wanted to be a stockbroker when he got out of college, so we went up to North Dakota for a bit, and then we were down to Sioux Falls. We lived in Renner, actually, when she was working at the Argus Leader. My mom was a newspaper reporter for a long, great reporter and columnist for the Argus and the Yankton, Press and Dakota, and then the Rapid City Journal. And so then my dad went back to law school and became an attorney, and we moved out to Rapid when I was a third grader. And basically, I went to college east at Brookings. I went to SDSU for a couple of years, but missed the hills too much and came back. And then I lived in Montana for a year. But other than that, I've been in Rapid.
In Rapid?
Yeah.
Do you feel like having those exposures, especially from your mom and your dad, your mom being a reporter and your dad going into law, do you feel like your exposure to statewide issues as a young person was more than maybe your peers and counterparts?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was always extremely vocal about lots of things, and always wanting to keep us on top of stuff. And with my mom working in a newspaper, I mean, that was just kind of when I was tiny. We'd go in and see mom, and all
that idea that there's more to South Dakota than just the town I live in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was going from, we lived in Yankton when my dad, so my mom was working at the Press and Dakota. When my dad was in law school, we lived in Yankton. And so, driving from Yankton back to Fort Pierre, Highmore, a lot of weekends to go see the grandparents. It just, you kind of see a lot of, little towns, and you realize, and then you're over at USD with dad at the law school, and you're seeing all the students. I mean, you just kind of pick a lot of stuff up that way. And my dad had the kind of the same thing. He grew up in Fort Pierre, but then his dad, my grandpa Bernard was a teacher, coach who became superintendent of schools in Stanley County. And then when he was like 38, 39 and had 5 kids, he moved his family down to Vermilion so he could go to law school. And then so he became, so my dad spent his 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years living on campus in the late 60s at USD. So that kind of opened his mind.
I can't imagine living on a college campus in South Dakota in the 60s as a child. Like,
yeah, and it was, and this was like in, 1968, 69, 70 was when they were down there, I believe. And so, being around all those 18 to 22-year-olds as a kid his age, that, you know, opened his mind up and eyes up to a lot of things. And so he was always, and then my parents were really young when they had me. And so he was just always very.
Threw you in the backpack, took you to the law library.
Yeah, show you what was, and talk to me about what was going on, and always talking to me about what was going on. And he was very, always very politically engaged. So yeah, I mean, my parents were huge influences on me that way.
And then you jumped out and said, well, I'm just going to go play sports, Dad, and talk about that.
Well, I mean, as a kid, they made fun of me all the time. I mean, yeah, there was you need school and everything, and you need to learn about things and be very, you know, well-rounded, and yes, understand what's going on in the world. And they called me the sports Iggy growing up, sports ignoramus, because I was totally, I mean, from the time before I even knew what was going on, I mean, I was fascinated by football on TV, and I would sit there watching it. I mean, I just loved it as a little kid, and I've always loved sports. I come from a sports family. My grandpa was a coach. He was a football player and basketball player in college. And obviously the Duffys, I've got some really good basketball players in my family. My cousins were obviously excellent players down at the University of South Dakota here recently. My other cousin was a great player at St. Thomas More. So it got, you know, we love sports too.
So then, Caitlin, when you're at your kids' events, do you have to stop him from calling the events? Do you have to be like, shut up?
No, he's really quiet. You're not, no.
You don't slip into that mode and just start calling it out?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't.
Even coaching, he coached flag football and basketball for one of our kids, and no, he's better than me. I'm the one that has to calm myself and tell myself not to make a complete fool of myself.
Do you show up at games and they give you one of those? What is it? A red card right away? They're like, just hold on to that. That one's yours.
Go sit down.
Yeah.
Man, you have to stay in the corner. She gets a little anxious. We kind of have to, you know, kind of gotta. She was a really good athlete too, and played a lot of sports, and so that kind of competitiveness and edge kind of takes over for her sometimes, and she gets a little jacked up. So we got to kind of reel her in every now and again.
Since you both have lived kind of all over the state, and you've got family all over the state, so you're visiting different parts of the state regularly throughout your whole lives. When you look at the area you live in now, Rapid City, when you hear other people in other parts of the state describe where you live, what are they getting wrong?
I feel like people don't give Rapid City enough credit. And maybe I'm one of them because I always talk about how much I want to live in Spearfish, but
it's very pretty there, and they have a good house.
I don't think people understand, how great Rapid has got. Maybe I'm wrong too because people seem to be flocking here, but that my experience has been that people around South Dakota really rave about Sioux Falls and not as much about Rapid. Do you think the same? People I talk to anyway.
I don't know.
I think we definitely over here, we stereotype. I mean, Sioux Falls, everybody here, we do not seem to want to accept that we aren't the center of the universe, and we are very different than the rest of the state. Sioux Falls is actually kind of different than everywhere else, and we tend to stereotype Rapid City area as being cowboy hats, and it's just Mount Rushmore, and
I think that's not just that's a nationwide thing. Is people are like, oh, there's Mount Rushmore there, and it's like, well,
and that's it. Yeah,
Mount Rushmore is not even close to the coolest thing out here. I mean,
right. It's not even that close to Rapid. It's not even yours. That's Keystones.
Well, yeah, but no, I mean, but a lot of stuff that's not Rapids. I mean, just but just having a city where, you know, 65, 70,000, whatever it is, and then being as close as it is to, I mean, the access we have to different places is just unbelievable. I mean, you know, we'll be on the paddleboard at Pactola or something. It's just like, this is 20 minutes away from our front door.
Right.
Yeah.
Not many people get.
It's equally as gorgeous and shocking every time I'm there. And even when we went to Ireland and we were driving back from Denver and we were pulling into the hills, we talked about, we were just in one of the most gorgeous places on the face of the earth, and I still love pulling into the Black Hills. It's still just beautiful, and this is my home, and I'm back.
Right.
It's gorgeous here.
And I think that, like, when you talk about being 20 minutes from your front door, but feeling like you're out in the wild, like here, I don't live in town. I live outside of the city, but I can hear the city and I can see the light. And when I'm driving, and I used to travel for my job, and it didn't matter what direction from the 3 states I was in, it did not matter what direction I was coming from. I could see the glow of Sioux Falls for an hour. Like, that's home, you know. But there, you go over one hill and you're like, you can't see it. You can't hear it. You could be out in the middle of nowhere. And
well, and that's, we were just talking about it the other night when we were over at my brother's house. I mean, there are places tucked in against, you know, Skyline Drive that crops up in the middle of Rapid City, on both sides of it, where, you know, you get back in there and you're
gone.
You're 3 minutes away from downtown in your car, but you're looking around, you have no idea that you're in the middle of a small city.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, and the air smells good.
The air.
At night, it doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees during the day. At night, you're dropping down to 65 with no humidity, and you open the windows and it smells good and it's cool. There are lots of things about the Black Hills that I love and will always love and can't leave. Really.
I think I've gotten one mosquito bite all summer.
That's something to write down.
That's in itself.
Like, I've probably gotten 3 just sitting here in my house while we're talking. I've probably got West Nile twice since we've been talking. That's an issue over here. I have horses in the field next door, and I'm always like, you guys keep the bugs over by you.
The humidity and bugs are one thing that I don't deal with well.
Yeah. What about amenities? I know that I feel like we don't lack for even post-pandemic, even during pandemic when things closed or changed, and like, I don't have a 24-hour Walmart anymore. I never really thought we necessarily needed one, except for when I have insomnia. Then I wish that we had a 24-hour Walmart. But we don't experience a whole lot of, like, the truck isn't coming in because of weather or whatever. What about amenities out there because you guys are in kind of a pocket of the hills? Do you guys feel like you have everything that you want and it's easily accessible?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that we ever seem to, in terms of shopping, that, and this is coming from my uncle who lives in Sioux Falls and is Costco's number one brand ambassador, is that we need a Costco in Rapid. But other than that, it seems like we're not. I don't.
You guys have a Sam's Club though, don't you?
We do have a Sam's Club. Yep.
Yeah, Costco does have better food trays. The food is better at Costco.
My Uncle Bernie, every time he comes somewhere, every time he comes back to Fort Pierre or he comes to visit you, it doesn't matter wherever you are, he's always got some deal he picked up at Costco that he thinks you need to have.
You needed to have.
Number one ambassador for Costco in probably the entire world.
Well, my parents have moved to Illinois, actually, where they have access to Costco, and my mom has been reeled in pretty well too to Costco.
But so yeah, I mean, when I can't think of anything that I really am like, we don't have it here. I wish we had this. I wish we had that. No, nothing really. Right.
Do you feel like you are more in tune with the culture of East River, South Dakota, or the culture of like Sioux Falls area here, or more in tune with the culture of Denver? Because a lot of times when I'm in Rapid City, people talk about how you're right in the middle of those two, but you're more like other states than you are like the rest of South Dakota.
I think there's probably a little bit to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a little bit to that. I mean, spearfish, for not being a big town, but with having the university there, bringing in young kids usually from west of us. I mean, obviously there's other people come from the other side too, but it seems you got Terry Peak. There's some of that. There's a little bit more of the stoner snowboarder culture here than maybe in Sioux Falls, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like people to the west are a different kind of tree hugger than tree huggers from the east.
Yeah.
Like over here, I work with a tree hugger who's like, we have to have metal reusable straws. And over there, it's like, I'm going to chain myself to a pine.
Yeah.
And I'm just over there going, what retail front can I throw this brick through? Like I'm in the middle of both of those people. So, but I do not fit in when I hang out with my Rapid City friends over there. When I go there, I do not. Every time I get there, I'm like, I am dressed so wrong. Why is everyone looking at me? And or if I say, why are people looking at me? And they'll be like, because you're acting too comfortable. So they know you're not a tourist and you're dressed wrong is what they'll say to me. And I'll be like, Sturgis is right over there. How can I be dressed wrong? I mean, yeah. I've seen Sturgis.
I don't know what the dress code is out here, but
I don't think I'm probably in any proper dress code.
I don't have any Patagonia, is what they tell me. Oh. They're like,
if
yeah.
I do, it's used.
Yeah.
Got it at the Plato's Closet.
What is something, speaking of like Sturgis, that's another thing where I think on a national level, everyone thinks that town is just bikers year round. I have seen their street webcam. It's not bikers year round. It's pretty average people the rest of the year. What is something else that, besides the things that all the tourists and on the national level that we know, what is something that you feel like is a secret that only the locals get to enjoy, that you will get in trouble for revealing now?
I feel like there's less and less and less of that.
Yeah.
I feel like my answer 5 years ago would have been completely different than now. I don't...
A secret that only locals know about out here?
Yeah, like what's something that you go to do and enjoy that like the tourists it isn't flooded with tourists?
I wish there were more things.
I know, tourists even wreck the Poets Table.
Yeah, a lot of places that I used to be able to get away in the canyon, in Spearfish Canyon, are now just absolutely flooded with people.
My thing is, I'm not a big outdoors person. I hate camping. I like to go to the lake, but then I like to come home.
Go home, yeah.
Yes, I like to. I don't like being out backpacking for a week or anything, So I play golf. I haven't played as much as I like this summer. But I think that's a thing that when I do run into a tourist who's like, oh yeah, I just came out here to play this golf course, and they're always blown away. And you don't see a ton of people coming in to play golf. We got some incredible golf courses out here.
That honestly, even as somebody that has been back and forth there, that surprises me that you would say that. I think if something is that being part of like our wide open spaces, I don't know if I've ever even driven by a golf course on accident when I've been in Rapid City.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're, in Rapid, Spearfish, Sturgis, Hot Springs, they're great golf courses all over the place. And that's one thing I love about this area is that there's always a little gem to play for not that. I mean, golf is an expensive hobby. It's a rich man's sport, unfortunately. But around here, you can play pretty cheaply at some really nice places. I think that's somewhat of a secret around.
Somewhat of an unknown to the tourists.
Yeah, definitely to tourists. I play with a lot of guys who are just like, oh yeah, no, I just wanted to get outside. I rented some clubs and I'm playing, and they're always like, even our municipal course here in town, like, this is a really nice public golf course. And yeah, so that surprises people. And I mean, it's not a secret. I think that for people that mountain bike, mountain bikers the world over, I think, know that in terms of accessibility and just really good biking, the Black Hills, rock climbing, mountain biking, that kind of thing, or there's a lot of hidden gems and good stuff around here for that kind of stuff as well.
What do you think for your area? You guys are kind of the central medical care for, you guys have Monument Health, which many, many moons ago was McNamara Hospital. That's not even my claim to fame, but that's the family name for me. But so you guys are kind of the central area for healthcare. You probably don't have to reach very far to find any kind of healthcare you want, whether it's something for the kids or something for critical or something for major maintenance care. Do you feel like for all the little towns that are adjacent to Rapid, that's the same for them? Are they dependent on Rapid, or are there a lot of small town hospitals around you?
Well, Monument has
reached out.
Monument's got a hospital in Sturgis. They got a hospital in Spearfish. They got one in Custer. I assume they've got one in, I guess, Custer. You wouldn't have one in
Deadwood. Monument. They have a hospital there. Monument. There's a hospital in
I think
Deadwood.
all the hospitals, I think, basically are. So I mean, no, we're not Rochester, Minnesota. We don't have the Mayo Clinic or
right.
If I've got something serious going on,
mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna drive a little ways.
But yeah,
say that.
Yeah.
The options are definitely here. You don't, but I think there's still a lot if you needed.
There's plenty of doctors.
Yeah, there's plenty of doctors.
I feel like in the last couple of years, there's been more development of. I think the pandemic made people more aware that we've got to develop some networking and some, even if it's a bunch of independents, there've got to be resources, because you can't all just zip over to Sanford or up to Fargo or over to Rochester. I feel like there's been more development that way.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the Hills is kind of, in a lot of ways, is just like one big community.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps it in a way that, being in Ipswich or wherever you are,
right.
Maybe there, or I don't have any idea. I always, when I don't know what I'm saying, I always pick out some town up in the northeast part of the state.
I feel that way too, though. The north central part of the state is there's a lot of, I'm still on the hunt to talk to somebody in Ziebach County, because I just heard that for the entire county next year, there will only be 3 kindergartners. And I need to confirm that, because what's going to happen to them in 10 years? That's not enough people to repopulate the county. I'm,
I don't think.
Yeah. So I got to find out, how weird is it to live in Ziebach County right now? But I think, like, I would not want to be a paramedic on the road in the winter between Deadwood and Rapid. Like, I would hope that there's more resources if somebody that there's more networking of the major facilities. I mean, out here, yeah, we can fly up down I-29 and bring somebody from Brookings down here pretty easy. Obviously, we use the helicopters because they're faster, but I just think about that area, how hard it would be to transport if you were mountain biking, if you were in the Badlands without water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that whatever paramedic picks those kids up in the Badlands without water, they're a tourist. Like, their mom and dad are not nearby to hold their hand.
Well, we
were just out we usually go to Pactola. We love it there, and there's cell phone service there, but we were out at Sheridan Lake last weekend. Mm-hmm. Not a no cell phone service at all. And of course, I'm the person who I mentioned that right away, that what if something happens? How do people call anywhere? What if something happens to a kid? Takes a minute to get there. If you're in an emergent situation, 20 minutes is a long.
You know, and I feel that way too. Like if I forget my cell phone and go to work without it, where there's phones at work, obviously if there's an emergency, I can make a call from work. But I panic if I don't have my cell phone because of the what if. But when I was in college, I drove back and forth from Brookings in blizzards with no heat in my car.
Yep.
And I didn't have a cell phone. And if I didn't make it home, my parents would have assumed I stayed for the weekend up north. I would have just died in Nunda. I would have just been found on the side of the road.
It's amazing how much we left the house all the time, and nobody knew where we were, what was going on for long stretches of time.
Right. Laura Ingalls did not have a cell phone. We still know that Pa was able to get the wheat. I mean, like it works. But what about one last thing to wrap up? If you could, if Rapid City was gone tomorrow and you had to move anywhere else in the state, where would you go?
I mean, I would just move into the hills.
Yeah.
Hills
just throw the beard out, become
I
a
would
hermit.
love to. If I could make a living in Hill City, I'd live in Hill City. If I could afford,
really?
If I could afford.
If I could afford it and I didn't have to go to work every day.
Or Spearfish, I'd live somewhere else in the hills.
You'd stay in the circle.
I'd even live. I sometimes think if you could make a living down there, the Edgemont would be awesome because you'd be that much closer to being able to get down to Denver, and I love that. I love being in the hills, but I also love that edge, where you're going out onto plains, kind of prairie, coming up to the hills. I think that's always a great place. I'd live anywhere in the Black Hills, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm weird because you talk about how great it is and how great the air is and all that, and I agree with you. But I'm a prairie girl. I go there for fun, and it doesn't take long, and I feel closed in the trees. I'm like, why? Where's my sky?
That's exactly how my dad was. My dad, his whole life living out here, was always constantly saying that I don't like it. I feel like I'm claustrophobic. I feel closed in by all this. I want to be able to look out on the prairie, look out on the river. Obviously, he grew up right on the river. He wants to be able to see, and having stuff around him where he can't see a ways always gave him a little anxiety.
Well, all of South Dakota is beautiful, and I say that all the time. Having grown up in Clark with lots of water, sunflowers, just beautiful, and then being in Pierre on the river and being out here, I think as much as I like the trees, it is the air, the lack of humidity, that has a lot to do with why I'm out here. The climate's a little bit better, but all of South Dakota has its own.
Right. Do you think your kids will grow up and stay in South Dakota?
Can I admit that I don't know if I want to stay in South Dakota
forever? Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
Now, somebody else that I interviewed that is bleeds South Dakota, she said the same thing. She doesn't know if she wants to be here anymore. Can I ask, why do you not know if you want to stay here?
Well, a lot of it for me is winter. I can't see as when my kids are gone, going through these winters every year. I just get, I feel like I'm getting really, really tired of being cold for that long.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get as horrible out here. This is probably the best place to be for winter, but I'm tired of winter. And
winter is October to May now here.
Yeah. And to not get into politics too much. That would be a factor for me in the future too.
Yeah, I think I want to stay here till I die. It has nothing to do with the not wanting to get on a plane. But yeah, I want to stay here till I die. And when my friends say it's the politics, and I say, if you leave, who's here to fight for the rest of us? Yeah. Don't run.
Yeah. I'm totally.
He's with that.
I'm totally that way too.
I do feel that, but I do feel like I guess I should back to your question about will my kids stay here. I don't know if my kids don't stay here that I'll feel as connected and want to stay here as badly if my kids aren't here, especially.
Right.
My kids are here, I'll be here. If they're not, I'm open.
Right.
Open to going somewhere else.
I'm a firm believer in that you're going to run into ignorant people and greatly intelligent people everywhere you go. It doesn't matter where you go. You're going to run into ignorance and you're going to run into genius in all sorts of different places.
Yeah.
And I would rather fight ignoramuses in my own home where I'm from than go somewhere else and deal with people that I don't, in a place that is not part of me. So I don't, I'm not big on nobody's chasing me out of here. It's not happening.
Right.
But I might follow my kids.
Yeah, she might.
I would say that too.
I may be trading her in here at some point. So.
I would say that too. It'll be harder for you guys because you have multiple kids. I just did it once. Once I found out that it wasn't an urban legend where they come out of, I never did that again. I just had that one baby. and but her and I are very close. And I remember her being 11 years old and talking about South Dakota and saying, Mom, the thing about here is you can't be Black or brown or speak a different language or be gay or be whatever. You can't be that here. And I'm like, well, how do you feel knowing that you're not any of those things? Like all of these things that she listed off, I'm like, how do you feel knowing that just by how you look at birth, you have the privilege of not having to worry about being held back by that? And she said, but I'm still a girl. And I was like, God damn, she's right.
I obviously speak from a place of great privilege in a lot of ways, about being able to say, I'm not.
You're even tall. You even know what's on top of the refrigerator.
You're not gonna run me off as a straight white Christian male. Well, it's pretty easy for me to be gung ho about what I'm willing to put up with. But yes, I agree that, I mean, if nobody around here
I think the
lifts
fact
off
that
and lets people know that there are there is other thought around here. There is a different train of thought going on with more people around than just because we're a majority whatever state. There are plenty of our neighbors do not feel the same way about a lot of things that.
And I feel like as I start talking to more and more people, I'm finding more and more and more people out here that feel the way I do. We're just not as loud. We need to be a little bit louder.
Right. Well, and part of this project for me, I mean, the first time I did it was in 2020 because no one could go outside. And there was a lot of political upheaval and all that. And talking to people about it, when I go through all the things that we talked about up to this point, none of that has to do well, it does have to do with how you vote to some extent, but whether or not you feel like you have enough amenities and it's beautiful and you live a good life and your kids are healthy and all that, we all are going to shoot for the same answers. We all want to live a good life. We all want our kids to have what they want. We all want to be able to get groceries. I'll talk to your Uncle Bob about this Costco movement. Things like that. Everybody talks to me about the same thing. And then if I ask them about politics, some people are a hard dividing line one way or the other. And I'm like, but wait, go back to where we were all the same a minute ago. Mm-hmm. Like, what do we got to do to make it all the same?
Well, I just think there's a huge disconnect. Obviously humans kind of, evolve to only to worry mostly about themselves.
Yeah.
So we all have a very, our sphere sometimes isn't huge, and we look at things individually and what it means to me, us. Obviously, I think that has infected a lot of the way government, obviously, in and of itself, is not just about me individually.
The
government
community
is by definition all of us. That's what
right.
Government is. We, the people, all of us. And I think that there's just been a movement to insert so much individuality into something that needs to be there. There are some things where we need to, there are problems and things that are so big that you need to have a wider scope and come together and tackle things as we the people.
As a team.
All of us, yes.
Another sports reference. Mike would be so proud of me.
Your individual thoughts and preferences about what you want for you doesn't always necessarily fit into tackling some of these other problems. And I'm all for your, we're not going to infringe upon your individual rights as much as whatever.
Right.
But there are things that people, and we seem to, at least in my lifetime, in a lot of ways, completely have abandoned that thought process. And I just think that, as South Dakotans, we live in a small state. We're only a degree or two separated from everybody. I mean, in terms of who we know and what. And I think that there should be a little less accentuation of the individual and a little bit more coming together of, hey, we're in this together. And, we wouldn't all be living out here in the goddamn high plains, freezing to death without coming together and tackling a lot of problems that we've had over the years. So I just think that there needs to be a little bit of a reorienting of what we're looking at and how we think about what we're doing together.
Right. I think we need more people that want to stay here. Like when we look at electing people or leadership or how we participate in community leadership, we need more people that their goal is to stay here and be here for all of us. Everybody that is multiple generation in South Dakota, no one emigrated to South Dakota and stayed here because it was super easy or because it was super crowded. A lot of people came here and stayed here to be alone, like to be out and homestead and be alone and stay that way and have ownership of their life. But we all need community every once in a while, and I think we need to learn more from, I think that's something I appreciate when I go west is Native culture there is different than Native culture here to some extent. We need to learn more from that. We're all one family. That's how people lived on the plains before we got here, and that's how they survived it. Is when it comes down to it, we're all one family. We need to get a little more of that back.
Even if we're sorry that our ancestors came through and exterminated your family. Right.
Now please help us raise potatoes from South America.
I don't need any government help, but I sure like government sending those soldiers out to clear the land so my ancestors could come live here.
Right.
I guess is what South Dakotans like to say.
Right. Yeah, we need a lot more community effort in bringing things back. But everybody I talk to, the core of what we all want every day is pretty much the same. And that's, I do believe we can do it. We should only be moving away because yes, winter sucks.
I think part of, your family
makes me appreciate spring all the more.
yeah. Your family has kind of stuck around, and my family has kind of dispersed all over the place, and so my strong family ties have kind of split. But I'm so close to your family now too that I can't imagine leaving his mom.
Yeah, he has a lot of family to spare. Yeah.
But no, I agree. People need to stay and speak up and try to make change. And
you can be one of those. You can be a snowbird. You can be a snowbird. Get a place in Arizona for the winter. Come back here.
I want my kids to be raised here 150%. I don't plan on leaving at all. I want my kids to be raised here. I do love it here, but we'll see what my old bones bring.
Loading up her Hyundai, listening to Adele, driving down the road by herself.
That's now.
I don't know about it. This Adele thing is like, I just don't want to be screamed at with like screechy guitar riffs on top of it. Other than that, any music you can throw at me, I'm gonna enjoy for the most part.
I have to introduce you guys to the happy song, I guess. I definitely thought the other night when I saw that come out on Twitter, I was like, them's fighting words. He's going to be dead before dawn. I don't know who I'm going to interview on Sunday.
Good thing we have 2 cars, I guess.
There's a lot of frontier justice up in that area of the world.
That wasn't that bad.
Well, I'm going to pop you guys off the screen for a minute and wrap up. Hang tight here. Don't go anywhere. We've hit our hour. Super thank you to the Duffys for talking about all kinds of experiences across the state. One of these days when I have a politically minded gathering, I'm for sure going to invite them because I know there's more to be said. But I do love to hear from people that are living happy, good lives out West River just as much as I do here East River. For me, West River is someplace I love to visit, but I don't know if I'm cut out to live there. It sounds like that might be the same for some folks when they think about coming east, because winter really sucks here. So thank you for tuning in. Happy Sunday morning. And yeah, Janitor Bob, watch for more coming about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and listen to the happy song. It's really your best commute to work music. Much better than screamer music. Bye.